Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alicia Brachet, and I'm from Cosmic Gateway. And in conjunction with World Unity Week, and I'm here with my dearest soul sister, Jo, from Awakening to the Light Within. This has been highly anticipated by the immense amount of comments I saw in the promo for this. Everyone went a bit crazy because we do love Jo. We do love our Mama Jo. You come under lots of different names in our social circle and our soul family circle. And I am so privileged and honored to be sharing this space with you. This is the first time we've ever gone live, so I'm pretty excited. So in this segment, Jo and I, we've been working together for a very long time. Well, in this life, going back a couple of years, but when you take in lifetime,
Forever.
planets, and it feels like eternity. And in the very best of ways, of course. And so in this segment, we're going to be going into what I would like to consider Jo's specialization. Jo can do many amazing things, but specifically talking about the cognitive process, we're going to be talking about connecting with galactic origins, and Jo is going to end us with a guided process where we can connect with our star family. So Jo is a multifaceted, holistic, and fully qualified psychotherapist. So congratulations, Jo.
Thank you.
She also works in the quantum field. She works as a BQH practitioner. She does energy alignment. She does soul fragment retrieval, amongst inner child work, and the journey back to self-love is one of the many things. Plus she's really great at sniffing out blockages within people's processes. So welcome, Jo. Thank you so much for being here. I am, as I said, highly anticipated segment on World Unity Week.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Yeah, I feel so privileged to be here. And like you said, how crazy that we've worked together so much, and this is our first ever live. I don't know if that's because we never trusted ourselves to go live before, Alicia, or whether or not it's just never happened.
I think it's probably because we don't trust ourselves. We never know what's going to. So maybe just to preface, apologies in advance, people. We could go to some very uncharted territory. We've been known for doing that, but I think for World Uni Week, we're going to keep it straight and narrow as we possibly can.
Yes.
So maybe to start off with, perhaps you can share with people who may not be that familiar with who you are and what you do. Maybe you could give us a little bit of a backstory, because Jo, the person that you see today, is a constantly evolving version of herself, and it hasn't been an easy road or easy path, but it's worth it. So maybe you could share a little bit about where you're located, who you are, and the journey that got you to where you are
Yeah.
today.
Absolutely. So I'm in England. I'm on the Essex-Suffolk border in England, live quite rural. And yeah, I think the me that I am now, if I look at me 5 years ago, I don't recognise that person. If I look at me 10 years ago, I don't recognise that person. In fact, probably even 2 years ago, because life in this human form is it is continually shifting and evolving if we engage and we partake on the journey of almost shredding layers of self. And I feel like for myself personally, that's what I spend a lot of time doing. I'm very introspective, which again is something that changed. I know I was very 3D. From a child, I was very different. I knew I was different, didn't really fit in, and then spent the rest of my life trying to fit in and trying to conform. And people that know me now would go, ha ha, you were trying to conform, you never conformed. No, I really was that person, which is kind of why when I'm working with people, I feel so able to recognize what that does to our essence and what that does to our soul and how that impacts the cognitive when we're living our lives for other people, essentially, because society tells us that good people live their lives to make everybody else happy. And it's so flip twisted, because actually when we can serve and be and create and do and give within first, because we are all connected, when we can love and express and do from within first, that radiates out and impacts everybody in the most pure, authentic way. And that's the secrets that they don't tell you in society. In society, if you work for yourself, then you're selfish. You know, if you do for yourself, then you're selfish. But no, like you say, it's not been an easy journey. You know, I came out of a marriage which was incredibly difficult. At the time, I had no source of income. I was caring for a very, very profoundly disabled daughter who has been one of my greatest teachers, in that, you know, she came into this life very restricted. She couldn't talk, she couldn't do anything physically. And yet she taught me telepathy. I think she put me back on where the path I was meant to be on. And she taught telepathy and unconditional love and all of these different things that we can do and that we can achieve and express without all of the preconceived notions of what we believe we're meant to do, you know, thought, speech, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch. It was so limited as to what she could do, and yet she reached and she expressed. And then she passed away. And there's so many things that I'm big on, Alicia. I could probably ramble for about 2 hours, but I'm very, very big on recognizing what our life lessons are in this lifetime. Because if we know what the lessons are, then when they come along, we can recognize them and we can work on them and we can utilize them within ourselves to shift and move past them and see the gifts and the expressions and the learning, as opposed to the pain and the suffering and the kind of human attachment-y shit that we hold with it, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So loss was one of my big ones. And when she passed, I spent a lot of time working with Alicia, and Alicia knew that version of me. And at that point, I think I hit a massive, well, prior to her passing, I was in a massive tower, dark night and everything else. And that's when my entire shift started to happen, because I was able to sit in this absolute shit show of a life, and just start to really take stock of what was inside me and who was I and what would make me happy and where does that come from, and work through all these different facets. And then the gifts started coming. So yeah.
You know what, just reflecting on that as you were sharing so beautifully, in all the years I've known you, I never thought about it like this, but I actually believe that it's your daughter who brought us together initially, because I was thinking about how we came in contact. It just flashed back in my mind, and it was in a Facebook group where I must have shared a post and you commented, and it was about telepathy, and you commented something about how your daughter had taught you telepathy, and we sort of started engaging in a conversation around that through comments on Facebook, in a Facebook group. That is how we met in the physical. Yep. And I have no doubt that your daughter, you know, sort of orchestrated that. You know,
absolutely.
Back now, I just think, you know,
and even thinking back to then, I mean, I can remember, you know, when we'd started engaging, and then I just kept getting so much information for you and thinking, can I send this to her? Like, can I send this to her though?
Right.
And then it's just kind of evolved from there. But yeah, you know, gosh, over the years, when the gifts come on, the imposter syndrome, and again, it's really interesting because part of the work that I do is working with the cognitive, because from my perspective, we are the cognitive, the physical, the emotional, and then the energetic bodies. And you know, I always say to clients when I work with them, it's impossible to think good thoughts and feel rubbish. And if the brain is continually running its programs, and we are all so heavily programmed, the way to work out, because a lot, I think it's something like 75% of what we think, we're not aware that we're thinking. So at that point, I know the brain, I mean, you think about it when we meditate, Alicia, and anybody that meditates, when you first start the practice of meditating, you become aware of how much you're thinking. And it's about not energizing those thoughts, but allowing them when we're meditating to kind of go, oh, that's interesting, or oh, I observed this thought. So that's happening all the time. It's continually happening. And when we're running on old programs of, you know, self-loathing or unworthiness or societal crap or all of these different things that can just clog, the brain is going to continue to do its thing. And when people are like, oh, but I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I still feel crap, it's like, but what are your thoughts doing? And I think that's the incredibly difficult thing for people to work out. Well, how do I know what my thoughts are doing? And that's when you have to try to kind of pull it in and recognize I was feeling really good, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. Now I now need to tune in to where my cognitive is going, because it will be running some shitty program or some outdated concept that you're doing everything to work through, but it all filters through here, because that's like the central computer of the human being. You know, we're in these skin suits, and this is the thing that manages it all. This is the thing that tells us to breathe, it tells us to do this, it tells us to, and it tells us a lot of stuff that we're really not aware of. And that stuff is what's been
Scary.
programmed by everybody else.
It's so scary. I didn't continue. I see. I'm going to learn something new from this segment.
But no, it is a process of kind of working out, you know, our belief is and it's our belief systems, our relationships. And when I say relationships, I don't just mean our relationships like with loved ones. What's our relationship with money like? What's the relationship with food like? What's our relationship with ourselves like? Because all of those are things that will already be registered somewhere in here. And it's only when you actively engage with those parts and say, okay, so for instance, if I'm working with clients, I'm very well trained to hear what they say, but I'm trained to hear what they don't say. So when they kind of on something, or certain words that are used, that they might be saying something really positive, and there's a should or a could, or there's a negative connotation around the positive that they're trying to tell themselves, and that is indicative of, well, you've got a blockage, or you've got a program there that you're trying to override. And then the next step is, well, where did that come from? Is that yours? Did you put that there? Did somebody else put that there? Did society put it there? You know, who told you that this belief system is correct? Who put that in there? And that then became a reality for you. So that's how you lived your life. And if, as within is without. So, you know, what's inside is outside. That's going to reflect back at us. At that point, when that belief system is integrated, even if we're not consciously aware of it, that is going to be our reality, because that's how energy works, right? So it's a very complex, I think it's quite a complex and intricate thing, whereby the cognitive belief system, whether or not it's conscious or unconscious, is impacting what we are energetically putting out. So therefore, if we keep getting the same experiences and our energy's clean, and, you know, this is good, and I've worked through this, what's going on there that's projecting that outwards, which means it's coming back?
Just blown my mind. I've never, in all the time I've known you, I've never heard you explain it quite like that. But can we talk a little bit about how programs are formed? How do we?
I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, in what way? Like, obviously, human beings have been suppressed for an incredibly long time. As a human being, And there's two trains of thought here. So I'm always very, very aware of what kind of train of thought you're looking at. You can look at it and say that we are a human being, we have this life, we are attached to our body, we have to collect everything and feel attached and feel like we've done good. Or there's the other school of thought that says we are energetic beings who are infinite, which of course is my belief, especially with the experiences of doing BQH and things like that. We are attached to everything and nothing consistently, like simultaneously. And we are having a human experience, which means that we enter these physical bodies, which have all of their own things going on in it. I mean, I refer to my body as us because my cells and my organs and my everything else, I'm the personality, but actually the personality is only a fractal of what resides elsewhere. So there is quite a collective us going on somewhere in there. And as human beings, when we are fully connected and aligned, we are infinitely able to do so much and hold so much awareness and carry so much remembrance. The things that human beings have been able to do over time would astound people. So from my perspective, and I'll own this as mine, it might not resonate with everybody, and that's absolutely fine. We have been dumbed down, in essence, through the brain, because we only use such a small percentage of the cognitive. Now, when we can blast past that and start to accept the unacceptable or the inconceivable, at that point, we become able to see through the veils, we become able to telepathize, we become able to do all of these phenomenal things that are not societally accepted, because if we all did that, we wouldn't need governments and power players and all of the things that like to keep us uniform and conforming. So that's the biggest program, and that's been running for eons. And that is that you live, you're born, you have to have these milestones, then you go and you get educated, and then you need to find a nice boy or a nice girl, and then you need to get married, and you need to buy a house, and you need a good job, and then you need to have a family, and it's all need, because if you don't hit these milestones, it's become such an expectation within society that if you don't do that, you are failing in some way. You're failing in life.
I failed, big fat fail.
I did that and then I gave it up, so I failed too, I guess. But that's I think potentially the biggest program. And then we can get into, and this is why when you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, what program? There's so many. There's so many. You know, if you look at MK Ultra programming, ultimately indoctrination of the mind, where I won't go into too much detail, but currently where the world is right now, there's mass mind programming going on. But again, you look at religion, I'll own this as my personal belief. Again, it might not resonate with everybody. Religion is one of the biggest indoctrinations that you can find, because when these beautiful, glorious prophets and things came, they came to show us what we can do. They didn't come to be idolized and adored and have manuscripts and transcripts written by man of rules and regulations that if you don't do this, you're going to hell or you're a bad person. It was an expression of what you can do, what you can achieve. And it's been twisted and run on fear. So I think to really trim that down, anything that you think that you're doing, because if you don't do it, on the other side of it, there's a fear attached, or what will people think, or something bad will happen, that means you've been programmed.
A whole lot of sifting through, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot. We have been so programmed, and that's why I say I still work through my programming. I'm aware, you know, there's no, I think that when you get to a point of not really fearing anything and not really feeling too attached to anything, that's when you know you're really starting to tap into your true essence of oneness, of allness, because there's no longer any fear attached. There's no longer, because you are everything and nothing all simultaneously. And at that point, the freedom and liberation to truly be and to truly express and start to disseminate your personality, which is obviously the makeup of all of these different fractals of things that we've gathered through our life. One of the most interesting things is waking up is actually starting to dismember all of this that we've accumulated over the years. So yeah.
So that sort of leads me into the next question, or line tangent to go down, I should say, is what's on the flip side of identifying, becoming aware of your own cognitive process, your own programming, stories? What's on the flip side of that two-part question, bear with me. What's on the flip side of that? But maybe before we get to that, what are some of the ways that we can start to identify that we are having these conscious and unconscious thoughts that perhaps are not in our highest alignment, that are coming from outside influences, and how do we take the reins and come back to our, and then obviously what's the potential in that? So yeah.
So within the process, and I know lots of people that are within the process, because I think that the programming, again, especially with current times, I think that a lot of people are waking up to the fact of, hang on a minute, what's going on here? You know, there's fear programming going on here. And then there becomes that question of, well, how much has this been done? And I think it's, I'm not going to lie and say it's an easy process, because you lose your identification because you begin to question everything. And rightly so, because if we don't question everything, if we just sit there and blindly say, well, somebody told me this, so yeah, that's true, at that point, we are not having a true expression within our own life. We are literally absorbing and living as we've been told. And if we're here to have this human experience so that we're, you know, learning and growing and evolving all through our experiences, we're kind of missing the opportunity. So when it comes to, like I said, the first thing for me is that you cannot be happy if your brain is thinking shitty things. It's simple. If you feel like you're doing everything good and everything's right and you're in this wonderful situation and everybody around you is like got their smiles on their faces and you're sitting there, and this was one of the first things for me, and you're sitting there going, I don't know. And that can really frustrate people, and that can sometimes feel like mental health or mental illness, because I just can't be in these situations or feel or smile in these situations. Take the time to just breathe in, try and find your heart space, and just say, what is my mind telling me in this space? What are my thoughts? And just try and slow everything down and learn to watch them. And this is why I say meditative practice is so important, especially if you're an overthinker. Because if you're an overthinker, gee whiz, you could be thinking like 100 things a minute, and trying to catch them bad boys is exhausting. So, but it's about slowing everything down and being brave enough to acknowledge that that's going on within ourselves. Because sometimes one of the hardest things is to recognize that self-sabotage is happening in here. It's not just everything that's going on out here. And that can be very, very challenging. And then obviously in that process, the other thing that I always say is check your relationships. Check your relationships at work. Check your relationships with your family. Check your relationship with your loved ones, with your friends, with money, with your home, with your pet. Check all your relationships from an energy perspective. When I'm with this person, when I interact with this person, do I come away and feel like that was, you know, how does it impact you? Do you come away feeling shit about yourself? Do you feel drained? Because again, there'll be attachments that's going on within that process, and anything healthy, anything balanced and aligned will support it will give, it will flow, and it will support. And if it isn't doing that, in essence, again, you're serving somebody else. So it is a bloody hard process to go through, because I think in that space where people truly do wake up to what their programming is, how they're serving, basically it's subservience. We are subserving society, or indoctrination, or relationships, or self-sabotage, or any of these things. When that comes up, that's when I think a lot of people will introspect, or they'll look towards working with somebody and say, how do I do this? And it's about, when you can recognize those thoughts, or you can recognize those impacts, actively challenging them. Actively challenge them, because your brain may well be your computer, but we can rewire it. We can eliminate these things, we can clear them. And if there's nothing going on in your life that would say, gosh, why am I scared of this, or why have I got so much fear around this? It might be past life, or it might be a consecutive experience, or it may be something that you're doing, simultaneously, intergalactically. And obviously at that point, that can sometimes be a bit harder to track down, but that's why the likes of us do the kind of work we do.
Right. It's so vast, it's so broad, isn't it? I mean, really...
It is, yeah. And then on the flip side, how does it feel? Liberating. It's the freeing of our own essence, because none of us came here to be, and I hate to use the word slaves, and that's the only word that keeps coming in, but as long as we are serving somebody else's purpose, somebody else's regime, somebody else's intention, somebody else's path, we are not claiming our own sovereignty. We are not standing within our own worth and saying, I am part of everything, and therefore I exist, and I'm allowed to have this expression of self exactly the way I choose to. Because when we can free ourselves of all of that, we become such more of a giver than when we're giving from an empty cup, if that makes any sense. We can serve so much more beautifully because it's pure.
Beautiful. Where my mind's going when you're talking is, and I can't believe we've never talked, well, at least right now, I can't think of when we've had a conversation. Maybe we have. The connection between cognitive processing, programming, but then on the flip side of opening up into higher consciousness, or accessing higher consciousness. And two things have come to mind as you've been talking. Is the first thing is I download a little message that came to me years ago, and I always pull that one out because I was like, oh, that was a good one. and that is that you hear so often when people going through their wake up experience on their ascension path, talking about how they feel like they're losing their mind, when they start to interface with beings, or their psychic senses spontaneously switch on, and having all these otherworldly experiences that aren't in the realm of the 3D physical world. It throws the mind for a loop because it's not within the context of what we've understood in our programming societally. And so you always hear this phrase, I felt like I was losing my mind. I thought I was going crazy, because there's been, and that's a rabbit hole we're probably not going to go down, otherwise we'll be on here for hours. But, then that kind of gets into the whole mental health system, and, working out what is an awakening and what is mental health. There's a very fine line that we won't go into. But that gem that came to me was, I was lying in, I don't know what I was going through at the time. I think I was going through a phase, because I went through many years of thinking I was crazy, off and on, not consistently, but checking my own self. And I think it's important that we do that.
Yeah.
And the message that came back to me was, you have to lose your mind to gain a higher level of consciousness.
Yes, it's breaking through. And I mean, Alicia, I can't not just pick up on the mental health thing. And I'm going to be really brief so we don't go down that rabbit hole, because obviously I am a qualified psychotherapist, and mental health is one of the reasons that I've done my degree, because if you now look up if you look up the list of things that they will now say that you're having a mental health episode for, they include number synchronicities, ringing in your ears, the list of ascension symptoms that we know are ascension symptoms are now down as you have got a mental health disorder, and therefore we need to medicate you. And I can't not touch on that, because I'm me, and if I offend anybody, complain to me, don't complain to Alicia, because I'm going there. However, again, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at a mass awakening on a planet that has been delayed for such a long time, of course it stands to reason that if we can see that more and more people are waking up, and they're going to shift frequencies of the collective, and they're going to do all of this, and then they're not going to need the powers that be, we really, really need to try and like medicate people or things like that. If you're having awakening symptoms, they're awakening symptoms. It's not a mental health issue. Please, 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 before you go on any medication, have an energy alignment or something like that that's just going to help you to reconnect in with everything that you are, and not everything that you've told that you are. Just needed to say that. I'm like, as for the breaking through, you have to lose your mind to find it, or to get. I love that, because I would liken that to, when I was spectacularly broken. And I know some people say you can never be broken. Oh, trust me, in my mind, from my perception, from where I was at, I was broken. I was in tiny little pieces, and it was the most painful but the most beautiful thing I've ever been through, because it gave me the opportunity to really evaluate and choose the parts of myself that I wanted to put together and carry with me. When it comes to the mind, it's the most limited part of us. To open that isn't to know. So many people think, oh, okay, well, if I know this, then that's better. The part of breaking through the mind is to accept that I don't know how that happens, but it's okay because it's happening. I don't know how I can do this, but that's okay because it's happening. And I think it's about breaking through the concept that we must have intellect and understanding for something to be real, because actually the vast majority of what we can do beyond the mind restrictions is inexplicable.
You kept saying a specific word, and I can't get it out of my head, so I'm just going to say it, which is kind of like a preface to that quote that I was given. It was probably a year or two before that, but I remember it's like I'm being recreated. I'm re-experiencing in my mind right now. So obviously something's going to come through. Let's just go with it. I was walking in the park with the dogs, and that's generally where I can connect into higher consciousness, various places. And I was getting this download. I was writing my ascension program, and the information around it, of how to explain to people about consciousness and how that equates with energy embodiment and dimensions and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I was given this beautiful analogy of imagining multiple glass ceilings being placed on our head. I can't even, right? And that represents each of them. If we had multiple layers of glass ceilings placed above our head, they represent the dimensions of consciousness that we are able to access, but we've been cut off from.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Yeah. And so as we go through our awakening and we burst through, it's like removing or shattering those glass ceilings. above our head, obviously not, keeping us safe and not, being cut up by glass. They just dissipate, right? They don't shatter, they dissipate, they dissolve. Um, each time we break through one of those barriers of our own limitations through our thought, through our cognitive process, we are able to attain higher levels of
Yes.
consciousness, higher levels of dimension, aspects, multi-dimension. But what happens is, in the process of like the dissolving or shattering of each of those ceilings, those layers, um, there's an influx of energy that comes in the body.
And then the body has to process all of that, and you go through all the physical and and then it brings up all of the emotional purging, and that's where I've always said that the four, for me, I see it as the four are so connected, because everything kind of filters through there, and then it goes through everywhere else, and it impacts what energetically where we're at, and it's such a stunning process. And one thing I will say is that for everything that I've been through in my life, I'm so thankful. I am so thankful that I get to see as much as I see, and I don't question it. I don't sit there and think, oh my gosh, I'm so all-knowing because I see things. I will happily sit there and go, I know nothing. And I'm quite happy to think that I know nothing, because as long as my mind is clear of what I think I know, then I'm open to what I can receive and what is given to me at any point. Whereas if it was all clogged up with everything that Jo thought she knew, there'd be no space for me to receive the information that I receive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that's the flip side too, isn't it? As you're able to work through that, then you can see and explore and experience all these things that our mind couldn't comprehend, because we're open to it. We've emptied out the
Yeah,
programming and conditioning, and we've rewired and worked through that to be able to start to go in and see and experience so much more beauty, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
worth it. It's not an easy process, but it's worth it.
It is, and I think the thing is, the one thing that I will say is that for anybody that embarks upon that process, it's ongoing. I think it is ongoing, because it's only in the essence of our experiences, our external experiences. We can do all of the work internally, and then you have something that's going to present externally. And that's going to show you, okay, well, how did I react to that? Where did my mind go with that? So again, every single mirror that presents to us, because all of our experiences, all of our interactions are mirrors, we can either choose to say, oh, okay, so this person out of these billions of people that's on the planet has presented to me, and therefore this is about them. Or we can look at that and say, of all of these billions of people, my energy has called this particular person in. What's that showing me? Where did I go with that? And we get to have the experience of ourselves through another person, which multiple people, all of our relationships, all of our experiences. And that's the space in which we are able to then see where we're really at, because we'll tell ourselves where we're at, but it's only it's only in the essence of having the experience that we go, oh shit, okay, yeah, no, I've still got some stuff to do there then, right? Okay, what came up? How do I clear through that? Blah 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 blah. And so I genuinely do feel that I think this whole, and it's not just the cognitive process, this whole ascension, it's an ongoing process of clearing and shifting through these bodies and what we hold and what we think and what we've been given, and just freeing it all.
Yeah. Liberation. It's a liberation of ourselves, liberation of the planet. It's a liberation. Yeah, anyway, I won't keep going
Yeah.
on. But where I do want to go in this conversation is to interweave the galactic component to your experience, the work that you do. When did that start to come into play for you? I mean, as people who connect into that aspect, let's say, when we look back, we realize that it was there all our lives. But when can you pinpoint when that started to come and filter into your
Oh,
experience?
year-wise, I struggle sometimes to remember what year it is. I'm going to be completely honest, and I think when I was a kid, because I because I always considered myself to be an alien, and you know, my dad, who died when I was young, always used to say that he was the alien, and he used to say that we're all aliens on this planet, and that actually it's as human beings we're aliens. We were put here, etc., etc., etc. And I used to think, God, Dad, you're so whack. And now I look back and I think, no, there was a lot of things that used to happen, and yeah, and but as an adult, I think probably about 4 years ago, when I started to completely clear the limitations of what we're told, because again, we talk about programming. There's a reason why most alien type films or programs are run for your lives, they're going to take over the planet, because actually they've been working with us in a positive perspective for a very, 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 very long time. I think that if we genuinely do believe that we are the most intelligent form of life in all of the universes, then that's awkward, isn't it? Because we only use such a fraction of our brain that's quite dire. But yeah, I think the second that I started to open my mind to the endless possibilities of everything, then those experiences became more and more and more. And as you well know, and I don't know that I've ever admitted this on camera or on video, I get pregnant all the time. Which people are going to be like, what? But I can literally, in the space of 5 minutes, my stomach will come out about 8 months pregnant. Now, because I've carried twins before, it's, whether or not I'm surrogating high octane energy, high frequency energy for other people, and I'm surrogating, or whether or not that's part of a hybrid program, I can't be 100% sure, but I know I'm doing something that isn't of this earth, which is part of where the word Mama Joe came from, because I'm probably populating there's some planet there with loads of little mini Joes running around, that's all I can say. But I think, and then when I started doing BQH, it was really interesting, because obviously like attracts like, energy attracts energy, etc., etc. But I was finding that even like people that were coming to me that were very human based, they weren't speaking galactically, they weren't talking about many kind of my brain is just literally falling out of my mouth, I think. Extraterrestrial things, there wasn't like any massive spiritual things going on. It was just more, I want a comprehension of this life, I want to know what this is about, etc., etc. They were all having galactic experiences, and I can remember coming to you, Alicia, and saying, do you know what, it's really strange, because I don't send anybody anywhere, and all of these people are having galactic experiences when they're within BQH spaces, and you were like, well, duh. Of course they are.
That was my official response.
Like, of course they are, because you're facilitating it and that's your energy. And at that point I was like, oh, right, yeah, okay. But I love that there are so many people that are now open to recognizing that this is a thing. And I still don't doubt that when this becomes more visible to the mass public, that there's going to be lots of hysteria, because the programming has told us that they're just going to come and they're going to kill us all. But that's so
There's
not the
a lot of
case.
programs that say that about a lot of things.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering whether or not there's going to be some movies, because obviously there's all of this UFO disclosure that's going on at the moment. So I'm now wondering, I'm thinking, okay, so if they're fully aware that, obviously there is going to be more visibility in that regard, are we going to see a few movies where like they're really friendly so that they can stop the mass hysteria that they've been invoking for the last however many decades? Because surely they're going to want to switch that a little bit, but who knows?
Oh my goodness, that could just take us down tangents of rabbit holes. But
I know. This is where we'll just leave that there.
If you're going to go and watch, Raw and Real, and after that, probably switch over to YouTube and have a look at a lot of the recordings that Joe and I have done, and we'll continue to do where we don't censor ourselves so much. But anyway, I know that we want to go into a guided process that you're going to do for us, and I'm actually really looking forward to this, because the last time when we were running a program together last year and you did a group BQH guided process, I had a very profound experience, and the onflow of that, and that I did, like, right now I was like only part participating, part facilitating, and I had a profound experience. And that onflow has continued on to my life since that moment. And it's just dawned on me, I'm like, oh, where are we going now? So maybe for those who are joining us on the live now, as we sort of enter into that space, any sort of prefacing of like how to get comfortable, get relaxed, anything that you want to kind of share. And also people who are watching on the replay as well. So how would you introduce to get people to get as comfortable, to get the most out of it?
So as far as I'm concerned, if you're not in a position, obviously if you're driving or if you're at work, do not do this, please. However, if you're in a place right now where you're able to join in with this, just find yourselves in whatever, from my perspective, I think it's either reclined is always nice, because sometimes you're not quite sure what your body's going to do, and just get yourself nice and comfortable. You might want to get a blanket, because sometimes people can get chilly in the process of traveling. And yeah, just get yourselves maybe a glass of water for when you come back round, and be relaxed and ready to just open all of this up and allow everything else to come through.
Cool. Do you want me to run some music through?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, please.
All right, let me set this up. Give me a second, guys. This is live, so just give me a moment. And I have something that I prepared. I'm just gonna, can you, oh, very loud. And I'm just gonna make sure that this is working. Properly before we go into it. One moment, please. Get everyone to get ready. All right. Just going to make sure on the live that everyone can still hear me, because I did have to disconnect my microphone temporarily to be able to do this. I'm not that tech savvy. I haven't worked out how to do, advanced things like putting music and microphones and stuff together. But can you hear that okay, Joe?
I can hear you absolutely fine, yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear myself on an echo. Oh, no, it's gone now.
All right, let me just check, and maybe if you're in the live, if you can just comment and let us know how that sounds. Get ready, get relaxed, guys. As we're setting up to do that, just going to say, this is like a taste test of what Joe does. This is just, if you do want to, if you feel a resonance with her work and you do want to connect with her, I highly recommend I'll put all the details of where you can follow her on in the description box below, where you can connect with her to have a session and to go deeper. And I'm just going to peace out. Sounds all right.
We're good?
Ready when you are. Take us away, Mama Jo.
Okay. So if everybody just wants to just take a nice couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And again, allowing yourself to feel into each breath, allowing yourself to relax on the exhale. Feeling yourself letting any cares of your day fade away. Just breathing, feeling into yourself, letting your mind clear, allowing your troubles to clear, becoming centered within your own energy. Feeling the warmth vibrate, magnify through your body, being in your own space, your own time, and feeling the expansion and beauty of self. Allowing yourself to connect with source energy, with your guides, angels, cosmic and soul family. Feeling those connections begin to deepen. Feeling yourself more relaxed as they deepen. Feeling your awareness begin to expand beyond the mind limitations. And knowing as your awareness expands, you're able to let go of all that stood in your path, that blocked your connections, that blocked your full potential and awareness from sifting in. Imagine now you're in your safe space, the space you go, the space you know. You feel the contentment, the safety, the presence of being. Breathing in and feeling yourself relax even more. Enjoying the peace stillness, just you, just being. And imagine, if you will, you begin to see a light appear in front of you. A golden, platinum, sparkly light. Pure, photonic light. And as you watch, you see this light move, sparkle, and entice. And you know this is a living consciousness portal. And for those of you that feel comfortable, that feel ready, allow your essence to lift, to shift, and to travel into this space, knowing that within this space, all the worlds, all the stars, all the universes, all the lives you have lived and are yet to live. And there, just coming into sight, is home. Home. And so you allow yourself to drift, to float in the vastness of all that is, in the space where time no longer exists, feeling so safe, so warm, feeling this warm, comfortable, cozy experience wash over you. For some, you may find that you reach home. For others, you may find yourself afloat in the energetic space of all that is. And within this space, take some time, feel what you feel. Allow these experiences to come in, and in your mind's eye, in your energy, ask if any star family wish to come join you, calling them forward with a pure heart. Allowing their energy to come join you. For those of you that haven't connected in some time, this may feel emotional, this homecoming, this reconnection. Allow your heart and your energy to be restored. To fully merge and experience the beauty of reconnecting. If there are tears, this is okay. Just be. Just connect. And allow any messages, any guidance to come through in this space. If there's anything prominent you wish to ask in this space, ask them one question. The answer may come in a knowing, as a gift, as a visual, or just be placed as a download that you'll access at a later time. And now, thank them for coming and connecting, for restoring and re-energizing. And know these connections, once they've been made, can always be revisited. And as you're ready, it's time to take a couple of deep breaths, beginning to bring yourself back into your awareness. Becoming aware of your physical body. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, fully feeling yourself returning back into your physical space, feeling that knowledge and connection come with you, fully integrating back into your human now. And as you feel yourself coming back in, have a stretch, move your limbs, ground back in. And the last thing, as you're ready, open your eyes and truly feel yourself back in your human form.
That was absolutely magnificent.
Thank you.
It's your voice, your energy. I could just sink into it instantaneously. And now I'm like, that was an interesting, unexpected one.
I never quite know where I'm going to go with it, but I just, yeah, I hope everybody's back. You all must come back.
Back to earth, back to the physical body.
Yeah, I know often people don't want to, but if there's any stragglers out there, come back.
And we would absolutely love to hear if you feel like sharing in the comment section what you experienced in that, because sometimes it's really incredibly validating for other people to, just
Mm,
share, similar experiences, and it helps people get a greater grasp on that, especially if it's your first sort of journeying in that way. So you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for all the work that you do, all the clients that you see, for your work in service to humanity on many dimensional levels, earth and beyond. Um, Final thoughts or anything? I mean, sorry, before we go into final thoughts, is there any aftercare for people that you'd like to sort of, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if that's your first experience of traveling in that way, just know that you might feel a little bit vertigo. You might have a bit of vertigo. It might take you a while for your energy to just fully come back. Drink some water, make sure you hydrate. Sometimes people get a little bit of a headache, a BQH headache. I mean, obviously this wasn't a full session, but I know for people that might have been their first experience, sometimes the integration back in you feel a bit discombobulated, I think would be the best word. So, if you feel you need to sleep. If you need to eat, basically self-care. But also know that for those of you that made the connection, don't be surprised if that comes on more fully now, because so many times your star family are just waiting to connect. And once they have, they will be guiding and working with you so very much. So
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful sort of aftercare and what to expect. But I do highly recommend the work that you do. It is incredibly transformative and powerful. Um, I've worked with you in many BQH and um, various different sessions over the years. You are what I consider one of my support team in helping
mm.
me go through what I need to go through. And it's a beautiful cohesion that we have in that. And so, um, final thoughts to just wrap it up and bring it full circle. I'm going to sort of hand you back the microphone.
First off, I do want to just say hats off to you, Alicia, and to Anna, with all of the work that you guys have done to bring this together and to put something so phenomenal together, because I know how much work it is, how much energy it's taking, and I've got no doubt that it's going to hit so many people that haven't been aware of the kind of things that you're bringing to them before. So absolute bow down to you, sister. You are smashing it. But yeah, as far as moving forward, I think that the programming element and the expansiveness of who we are, beyond the human experience, is something that is becoming more and more and more prevalent. The awareness of how we have been so heavily programmed is becoming more and more prevalent. And I think the one thing that I would say is that it can sometimes invoke a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and it can sometimes make people quite bitter or aggressive. And the one thing that I will say is that the further that we travel into ourselves, we recognize that we are, in essence, as energy beings, we are all an expression of love. And the sooner that we can return to heart spaces, and the sooner that we can begin to understand that our experiences are exactly what we've asked for at any given point, even if we haven't understood it, the sooner we begin to transcend that experience, because the anger and the warrior that comes out is completely natural. But I feel like at the moment it's love that's going to get us through
Mm,
this, not warrior mode. So, and again, that's just my own personal thing, but yeah.
wow. Well said, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you would like to connect with Joe further, I will put all the wonderful ways that you can connect with her down in the description box below. And, keep being conscious of your thoughts, keep expanding in your conscious awareness, and, you know, connect with your star family. They're there, they're waiting, they're willing.
They are all waiting.
All right, well, signing off until next time. As I said, jump over to YouTube. Joe and I have done some amazing videos over the years, so you might want to go back and look at some of them too. Um, just so much love to everyone, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.